All right, so I'll give just a brief overview on a few things, and then we're going to do a fun little activity for those who have persevered, who are still here. Just briefly, I want to just reiterate on a lot of the management tools that you've heard about today, and just briefly go over a few of those things. Some of those you heard about, and I'll show you this Washington Dairy Plan Web Soil Survey. I want to show you Google Forms. If you haven't used these before, it's a really cool way to do record keeping with a lot of different people. Some of the weather forecasts, and then a little bit on record keeping. So this is that website that I showed you about, I told you about earlier, and I just want to pull it up to show you live what's on there. So this is the website itself here, and you can see there's a lot of information here as well as along the side. So if you scroll down, you can see off to the left-hand side a lot of stuff going on. For where you are, what this starts out with is that if you want to access the conservation district near you, you just click on there, no matter what county this is, you can get a link to that conservation district. Some of the important parts here, as I mentioned, was this information about the Dairy Nutrient Management Plan. So within here, you can get information about just about anything in your plan. If I click on the nutrient management in particular, you can get a lot of information about what are the actual requirements of your Dairy Nutrient Management Plan. So these are the things that you need to do, if you will. It's kind of a top list of things, talking about nutrient value of manure, etc. There's a lot of different things on there. Another hot one, some of these are targeted a little bit towards west side. We have a manure spreading advisory that we do for the west side for runoff. And eventually we're going to do something for the east side here that relates a little bit more towards runoff. But really your issues, as you've noticed, are more leaching, and it's related to your activities when you're irrigating, etc. And that's hard for us to be able to predict when those things are happening. As you can see, everything's a little high risk right now with this big storm coming in. But it's this learning resources piece that's probably the most applicable. What we talked about a lot today, publications and articles, tons of information on here for crop guidelines. They're kind of highlighted when they're for Eastern Washington on calibration of manure equipment, feed management, field management, irrigation, etc., etc. Nutrient application of manure, nutrient testing, soil sample and interpretation. We have a lot. Everything that was talked about today, you're going to find some type of an extension publication or guide on here for you. So a lot of great information there. And then just so you know, so today's event, all of it's been video kind of recorded for all the speakers. So if you want to read up on something, share with a friend, you missed something, those will all be posted up on here as well. And our learning resources has that. And then lastly, for tools and resources, this is where you can link direct to that WSU irrigation scheduler as well as the web soil survey. So both of those things are up here for you to be able to access. So a lot of different things on there. You can just kind of go through and peruse at your own leisure and see what you can find on there. Again, it's on that little card. Just remember Washington Dairy Plan. Other things, as you heard about that web soil survey, this is a great place for you to go and get information on your soils. Again, at your leisure, you can kind of do this at home, find your zone, and learn a lot about it. Easy to use, relatively. Another one I want to talk about, and that's odd that this did not come across here, is something called Google Forms. Has anyone ever used Google Forms? So it's pretty easy. So it's a great way to set up like an interactive spreadsheet, if you will. So unfortunately, this did not show up, but let me see if I can pull it up live. So what I did was I created a form that anyone could enter into. This is going to pull up email, quick. I created a manure application equipment calibrator. So here we go. So it essentially looks like this, and you would access this from your phone or whatever it may be. So essentially what I did, and it took me 10 minutes to create this. They're so easy once you go into Google and you make a form. So essentially this is the application rate calculator, and I would put in my location, wherever your dairy is, or that you can identify your field number, the total volume of manure collected. So if you think back when you're doing the application rate, equipment calibration, you've got some volume that you're collecting. I set this up to the exact pan area that we have, putting in the applicator speed, the type, and my manure value, and then I would click submit. And anybody, you can have 10 people all doing this at the same time, and it goes into the same form. You could set something like this up for your manure application for record keeping. It's on someone's smartphone. So your field guys, whoever it is, anybody, whether it's you, you can have this set up where it said field number, application rate, total time, however you want to set it up, that it actually will record all that information. The nice part about this is that it goes all to one spreadsheet. And two things here. Number one, you can see this is probably input from 6 different people in the office for different test locations, and all that information that you just saw is all in here. And then I created, the coolest part about this is I created a calculation sheet. So when we're out in the field, we can figure out the calculation rate applied. So this is gallons per acre and total nitrogen applied. So let's say you're out there on a tractor, you've got this going, you know your manure test, you can either speed up or slow down to get this to match up. If you just want 100 pounds per acre and you're, calculate it, do a quick bucket test out in the field for your calibration, and boom, it tells you you're applying 120, speed up a little bit, get it to 100. So this is just one kind of example of how you can use Google Forms for something like that. So it's pretty cool. That's a real kind of brief overview. If anyone ever wants any more information, you can just let me know and I can kind of explain it a little bit more. You can also link Google Forms to Google Maps. So on Google Maps, you can actually outline your fields and you could enter in information that way. So you would click on that field on your map and that form would pop up, let's say, for record keeping. So there's a way, this sounds all kind of crazy, but trust me, Google makes these things very easy to do. Maybe the first time you set this up, it's going to take you a couple hours, but then that's it. And then it's just minutes, of just ding, 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 putting things in. So a really cool new way to do record keeping, especially if you've got a lot of different people on your farm, kind of putting input into one place. There's also a lot of apps available now. A handful, these are the ones of any of them that are probably going to be the most useful to you. Plant Images and Plant Calc are both plant-based ones. So for instance, this Plant Images one, it gives you an image. You would click, let's say, maize, which is corn, and it would show you what pictures of nitrogen deficiency look like, or too much phosphorus, etc. It's kind of a neat one. The other one is Plant Calc. It's based on you put whatever crop you've got in and what your yield is, and it tells you how much nutrient it needs. So it's a quick, easy way. Yes, it's going to be more specific to your farm, but this is a nice way to get started, whether it's alfalfa, triticale, whatever it may be. It'll give you that information. It's pretty cool. And for manure, there's a handful of different manure-based ones. The two that have probably the most usefulness to you are Manure Monitor and Manure Calc. So Manure Monitor is a whole kind of spreadsheet that goes over your manure storage and your lagoons and your water. It's a total record keeping tool for you online. And these are free. I believe maybe Plant Images you may have to pay for, but these two are free. So I'd recommend just pulling them up and see if they have any utility. If not, just delete them. So Manure Monitor, and then Manure Calc is the other one. Both of these were created through E-Extension, the LPELC, or Livestock and Environmental Poultry Learning Center. So they were created with education in mind for producers with a lot of input from them. So this other one, this Manure Calc, essentially helps you calibrate your equipment, does a nutrient application rate calculation for you, or a value estimator, so you can see what's the value of my manure versus a chemical fertilizer, for instance. So you put your info into here. and it kind of keeps track of those things, helps you figure out how much you've applied. So a couple neat little things to do. And then the last one, Soil Web. This is one, it's a free one from NRCS. When we talked about the soils, this actually will pull up the soil you're standing on. So nothing else, you can't get maps or anything, just where you're standing, you click Get My Location, and it pulls up the soil type and a whole lot of information, way more than you probably need. But at least you get your soil type. It shows you horizons. It lets you know if it's sandy or silty or clay-based soil. So if you're out walking around your fields, this is a cool one just to pull right up on those soil types. So those are kind of neat. Last one is the weather forecast. The only two that are probably pretty useful. Ag Weather Net is really great. They have a ton of different locations. This is Yakima here. You can see how many stations they have. This will give you that real time, what's happening right now. If you want a great forecast, NOAA has this awesome one, and it's a little bit hard to find, but if you go to their regular website and you scroll down to the bottom, you'll find something called WX Tables. And it gives you this, and essentially it gives you about 5 to 6 days out, daily temperature, chance of precipitation, how much precipitation, temperature, all of this in 6-hour blocks by day, wind speed, snow level, ton of information. This is really, really nice for your daily activities, maybe for planning things out for when you should apply or not, or for crop issues, when you're going to have frost, etc. It's pretty awesome. So for the Sunnyside area, this was kind of it pulled up for recent. So those are both really nice. And you can find this one on that Dairy Plan website as well. You'll find a link to this because it can be a little bit challenging to find. So you'll find that link as well, as I mentioned, to the Ag Weather Net. Both of those are under the Weather tab on that Washington Dairy Plan page. So that's it for those kind of tools, various things. Any questions?